Shares of Macy's plunged 20% in 2 days last week after it announced that so-called comparable sales rose only 1.1% in November and December compared to a year ago. This metric includes online sales, which Macy's said had seen quote-unquote double-digit growth. In other words, given the double-digit boom in its online sales, its brick-and-mortar sales alone must have been a fiasco. Macy's doesn't disclose separate dollar figures for its brick-and-mortar sales and its online sales, and it doesn't even disclose real percentages. This is on purpose. Macy's is not alone. Other department stores and other brick-and-mortar retailers are also into this, at least the ones that haven't filed for bankruptcy yet. So why are they trying to pull a bag over our head? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Wolf Richter of WOLFSTREET.com, and you're listening to the Wolf Street Report. It's January 13, 2019. Macy's has invested vast sums in building up its various online platforms and its e-commerce infrastructure, including fulfillment centers spread around the country. According to a report from eMarketer, in terms of year's online retail sales, Macy's was in 8th place last year, behind, from the top down, Amazon, eBay, Apple, Walmart, Home Depot, Best Buy, and QVC Group. This is tough competition. We know that Macy's is carving out a place for itself online and that its online sales are surging, but what is happening at its physical stores is a secret, other than the periodic store closures. We're not allowed to know just how bad sales are at its physical stores. It's not just Macy's that is using its online success to cover up how much its brick-and-mortar operations are losing ground. Other department stores and other retailers are doing the same thing. They are closing stores and they're losing sales in the stores that they haven't closed. And those department stores that don't have a powerful online presence are doomed. Among the doomed are Sears and Kmart. Their parent company, Sears Holding, after spending years closing thousands of large stores, is currently in bankruptcy and is headed for liquidation. Even if it gets a deal worked out to emerge from bankruptcy, that deal will only lead to bankruptcy number 2 and ultimately liquidation. Bon-Ton stores went bankrupt and is being liquidated. Numerous regional department stores have been liquidated over the past few years. Retailers that file for bankruptcy protection to reorganize, but that don't have a thriving online business, end up in liquidation. All these store closings should have helped the surviving stores, but no. For example, Macy's went from 3 stores in San Francisco to just 1. In San Francisco, its comparable store sales should have surged since its customers from the other 2 stores should have all thronged to the remaining store. But that's not how it works. Customers abandon brick-and-mortar stores, and if they're loyal to Macy's, they'll buy at Macy's online site. But Macy's won't tell investors that. It is hiding the fiasco going on at its stores. It's hiding this fiasco beneath the success of its online operations. Almost none of the retailers from Walmart on down disclose exactly how much they sold at the brick-and-mortar stores and how much they sold online. Most of them just give more or less vague percentage growth figures. For example, Walmart said that in the third quarter, quote, e-commerce sales grew 43%. And that was it. Its so-called comp sales include e-commerce sales, and there's no telling how much in dollar terms e-commerce sales rose and what happened to its brick-and-mortar sales. So here's an example why stores are dying. I just bought 2 pieces of electrical equipment at Walmart's online site. It was the cheapest deal I could find for this brand. I'd previously tried to buy stuff at Walmart's site, but at the time, it was not the best deal, and I ended up buying elsewhere. This time, it was the best deal. The equipment is big and bulky. The total weight comes to around 60 pounds. Walmart will deliver it to my door in 2 business days for free. Same as the other retailers I checked, including Home Depot and Amazon. The whole thing, including reading reviews, took 10 minutes. Why should I bother fighting the traffic to drive to the store and deal with the hassles, only to find out that it doesn't have it in stock? Macy's is in the same ballgame. Most retailers with good online operations are in that ballgame. They're spending a fortune on the e-commerce fulfillment infrastructure so that they can deliver, and at a relatively low cost to them. For them, this is the future, and retailers that missed the boat are dead or dying, such as Sears and Toys R Us. Other retailers, too, saw the brick-and-mortar sales get clobbered this holiday period. This includes L Brands, Kohl's, JCPenney's. And JCPenney's is likely the next big one to file for bankruptcy. This post-holiday sales blues at brick-and-mortar stores has become an annual ritual. In January last year, Macy's, Kohl's, L Brands, Kate Spade, Coach, Michael Kors, they all issued sales warnings indicating that they'd gotten bogged down at the mall stores. And of course there was Sears, which disclosed a year ago that it had had a total fiasco over the holiday sales period. And yet, total retail sales, including e-commerce sales, are holding up. Total retail sales will likely grow 5%, maybe 4% in the fourth quarter compared to a year ago, propped up by booming e-commerce sales and by inflation, which means price increases and therefore revenue increases for retailers, even if they don't sell an extra thing. So if Macy's says that comparable sales rose 1.1%, and some of it was due to price increases, and some of it was due to the boom in online sales, just how much must have real sales at its physical stores fallen? We don't know, because this is a secret. Total e-commerce sales across the U.S. in the fourth quarter have likely soared by around 14% from a year ago. This will bring e-commerce sales for the year 2018 to above $500 billion. E-commerce includes sales by the online operations of brick-and-mortar retailers such as Macy's, Walmart, and Best Buy, along with the sales of online-focused retailers such as Amazon or mom-and-pop operations. Over the past 5 years, e-commerce sales have doubled. So how does e-commerce impact brick-and-mortar sales? I divide brick-and-mortar retail into two categories. The first category is composed of retailers whose sales are online resistant due to the nature of their product that is hard or impossible to sell online, or that Americans don't yet want to buy online. This includes gas stations, new and used auto dealers, grocery stores, beverage stores, and convenience stores. Convenience stores are something that Walgreens and others have jumped into years ago. Target jumped into it with its small format stores. Amazon is dabbling with it. This is where people get their fill in stuff and are willing to pay higher prices because they want it now. These are essentially neighborhood stores. That concept has been around forever, and e-commerce is reviving it. Sales at these online resistant retailers, so gas stations, new and used auto dealers, grocery stores, beverage stores, and convenience stores, account for about 55% of all brick-and-mortar sales. The second group is retailers that have been under all-out withering attack from e-commerce. Sales at these retailers account for 45% of all brick-and-mortar sales. These retailers are the typical mall stores, at the top of which are department stores, such as Sears, JCPenney's, and Macy's. Some categories of the under-attack brick-and-mortar stores have already disappeared, essentially, such as record stores. Department store sales peaked in 2001. That was 17 years ago. And since then, they have plunged 36%. In the third quarter, they dropped to just $37 billion, a new record low in the data series going back to 1992. Department stores are the anchor stores at malls. They're supposed to generate traffic at malls, and they're dying. Nothing is going to help department stores. That concept has been obviated by e-commerce, and the department store chains that want to stay relevant, such as Macy's and Nordstrom's, are furiously and successfully building out their e-commerce operations, just not fast enough. Others will be liquidated. There are other types of stores that are hurting. Sales at electronic stores and appliance stores, despite a booming business in electronics and appliances, have dropped 9% over the past 10 years. We bought a washing machine and a dishwasher online. works fine. The people that deliver it install it. There's zero reason to go to a brick-and-mortar store. Department stores, sporting goods stores, hobby stores, music stores, toy stores, game stores, electronics and appliance stores, clothing accessory stores, even shoe stores. These are all the stores that populate the shopping malls, and year after year, they're losing out to e-commerce. Merchandise returns have always haunted retailers, long before e-commerce was even on the horizon. They've always been part of the cost of doing business, but e-commerce is changing the logistics of it and is centralizing it and is introducing some much-needed efficiencies. But merchandise returns will remain a big expense until retailers can figure out how to contain them. Retailers like Macy's are in a quandary. They want to brag about the booming online sales, and they want to brag about their online sales increases in dollars and percent, and show how the billions of dollars they've spent on e-commerce is bearing fruit. But if they did this, they would automatically show just how terrible their brick-and-mortar businesses really are, and this brick-and-mortar business is still the largest and costliest part of their operations. What we're seeing with these closures of stores is that department stores and other under-attack retailers are more or less gradually, over many years, winding down their brick-and-mortar operations because they've become an albatross, but they don't want to tell investors that. And so they vaguely praise their online successes, but then they use the undisclosed specifics of their online successes to cover up the brick-and-mortar fiasco. Eventually, the survivors will come clean, but for now, they're keeping us in the dark. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Wolf Richter of WOLFSTREET.com, and you listen to the Wolf Street Report.